The gentleman from California.
I strike the requisite number of words. And I claim the time in opposition.
The gentleman claims the time in opposition, recognized for 5 minutes.
Well, Mr. Chairman, first I would like to thank my good friend from Iowa for providing comic relief at this late hour of this debate. This carefully constructed, exquisitely constructed absurdity masquerading as an amendment, and on the West Coast there are still children watching this program, and I hope they are watching it because this is a rare moment in the history of the Congress of the United States. There are 435 members in this body, every single one of us elected by our constituents. The Speaker of the House at the moment happens to be the representative from the 8th District of California. Now, if the gentleman were to offer an amendment saying that 434 members may travel to Cuba and Sudan and Iran and Syria, but the representative from the 10th District of Illinois or the 7th District of Texas may not, he would be laughed out of court. But that is precisely what this so-called amendment purports to do. It says nothing about any other member of the Congress of the United States. We are free to travel to Syria. We are free to travel to North Korea. But one of our colleagues, who happens to represent the 8th District of California, may not. Now, San Francisco happens to have two representatives. Mrs. Pelosi, who represents the 8th District, and I represent the 12th District. The absurdity that you pretend is an amendment allows the person representing a part of San Francisco to travel to North Korea, to travel to Syria, to travel to Sudan, but the person representing the other part of San Francisco may not. Now, I really don't think that this amendment can be taken seriously at its face value. There is a hidden message here, and that hidden message is a low blow, a pathetically low blow, aimed at our most distinguished Speaker of this body. I was with the Speaker on his visit, not only to Syria, but to Lebanon and Saudi Arabia. She represented the United States with eloquence, dignity, and distinction. And it turns my stomach that this sickening partisan attempt to get at the Speaker's performance of her legitimate duties is presented here as an amendment. Let me, however, deal with the underlying issue. The underlying issue relates to travel to countries with which we disagree. May I point out, Mr. Chairman, that beginning in 1981, at the height of the Cold War, I was appointed chair of our parliamentary liaison to the European Parliament. And it became obvious to me that most of our colleagues in 1981 had never traveled in the Soviet Union or behind the Iron Curtain. So every year I took it upon myself to lead a congressional delegation to the Soviet Union and to all the communist countries of the Soviet bloc. Many of my colleagues at that time had no passport. But as a result of year after year after year going to these communist countries, many members of this body became familiar with the circumstances. Their commitment of anti-communism was enhanced, and our understanding of the Soviet Union and the Central and East European satellites became much clearer.
The gentleman's time has expired.
I move to strike the last word.
The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for purposes of striking the last word.
I thank the distinguished chairman of the Appropriations Committee. The primitive, absurd, stupid notion that we should not allow members of Congress to travel to countries with which we have disagreement is really beneath contempt. This know-nothingism has no place in this body. And the discriminatory approach of allowing 434 members of the House of Representatives to travel to the Sudan to look at Darfur and the tragedy unfolding there, but not to allow the Speaker of the House of Representatives to see with her own eyes the genocide which is taking place in Darfur, is not worthy of this body. I hope that my friend from Iowa will withdraw this pathetic absurdity masquerading as an amendment. It is not an amendment. It is a low blow at the distinguished Speaker of the House of Representatives, and I hope that if the gentleman does not withdraw it, it will be overwhelmingly defeated. This body is a body of adult men and women who are prepared to go to Syria, Sudan, Cuba, North Korea, and if the Iranians will let us in, to Iran. At this moment, the Ahmadinejad government does not offer visas to any member of Congress. I have been attempting to go there for well over 10 years. I hope one of these days a group of us will go there. But the notion of proposing an ostrich policy aimed at the Speaker of the House of Representatives, she may not go to Cuba, while scores of Republicans and Democrats go, scores of Republicans and Democrats go to the Sudan, to Syria. Days before we went to Syria, 3 Republican colleagues were in Syria, and I salute them. And days after we went there, another Republican colleague went there. This is a cheap partisan blow, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Wisconsin has the time.
Mr. Speaker, may I reserve the balance of my time?
You may not under a pro forma motion. The gentleman from Wisconsin has the time.
I think after that speech, there is absolutely no need to say anything more. The amendment says a whole lot more about the gentleman from Iowa than it says about the Speaker of the House.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time.